Good morning. Good morning, everyone. I'm going to wait for you guys to tune in. Come on in. Happy September. Happy new month. I can't believe we're in the Ember months already. The year is going by so fast. I feel like we just celebrated like New Year's and we're already in September. The year is going by so fast. So hopefully, anything that you wanted to accomplish this year, you've started the process, or do it now because the year is almost out. Good morning, Tatey. Good morning, Dami. Good morning, Toby Daniels. Good morning, Instagram. Good morning, YouTube, Facebook as well. Ibukwek Kingsley, good morning. Game Boop, good morning. Augustus, good morning. If this is your first time tuning in, comment, let me know where you're tuning in from. If this is not your first time tuning in, still comment and let me know where you're tuning in live from. My name is Aisha Chidole. I'm an immigration lawyer and I represent clients all over the U.S. With immigration matters, your location is not a problem. Our office is in Atlanta, Georgia, but we take cases in all 50 states. So please feel free to call us regardless of what state you are in. We handle humanitarian-based cases as well as family-based immigration and naturalization, nationality law. To schedule a consult, you can dial 407-995-6567. You can also send a WhatsApp to 404-333-8751. Let me just put in my number here and pin it. So I just pinned my phone number here. For those who don't have it, you can schedule a consultation. I'm Robert from California. Good morning. It's super early in California right now, but thank you for tuning in. CKU, good morning from Texas. Mr. Ken says, good morning. Just want to ask if an I-485 interview is canceled 3 times, is that a good thing or not? It's not necessarily one or the other. It's not necessarily a good thing. It's not necessarily a bad thing. I would be curious to understand like what kind of case you have, and what has been done in your case, and why they're canceling. I'll need to know a little bit more to understand why they're canceling your case. But, I'm sure that's definitely very confusing and that can make one worry. So it'd be good to know what kind of case you have and what has happened thus far, what kind of like communication you've had with immigration since you filed to know, because sometimes, we might have someone that has, one kind of case, and then they want to do an abeyance. Let's say you're a marriage-based case and then you're switching over to VAWA. Sometimes you can see that happen. So I definitely am curious to know what kind of case you have. Do I stand a chance to win an asylum case as an international student? Asylum cases are not based on whether you're an international student or not. Asylum cases are based on you being part of a group or a class that causes you fear or threat to your life. So they don't really care whether you're an international student or whether you came here without inspection or whether you came with a visa. They look at what is the basis of your asylum. Are you eligible based on the basis of your asylum? To do you have credible fear, and are you really at risk of losing your life? My Instagram keeps telling me that poor connection. On Instagram, can you guys hear me or at least see me? Put a thumbs up if you can hear or see me on Instagram. I'm not seeing that on Facebook. Good morning, Cleopatra. Good morning, Annie and Nash on Facebook from Texas. Good morning. I'm 29 and my mom filed a petition for me. The file has been going on for over 3 years now. In the USCIS website, I have 4 months left for a case decision. What can I expect? As a 29-year-old, if your mother is filing for you, you didn't mention whether your mother is a green card holder or a U.S. citizen, but 3 years is really not a long time because you're in a family preference category. You could very well be in F2, an F1 category or F2 B category, depending on what your mother's status is, but you're really looking at anywhere from like 6 to 8 years realistically to finish your process, because even if they approve you for your I-130, you can't really do anything. You can't, well, I don't know if you're in America or outside, you can't really adjust your status or consular process until visas are available. If you're here, you must be in status to do it. So there's a lot of variables to yours, but you're still very much within the normal time. Samuka says, how much do you charge for consultation? We charge $150. Idara says, my vow is over 2 years now. Good morning. Please, what can I do? Vow cases take anywhere from 2 to 3 years. So you're still very much in the window. You can definitely put out an inquiry just to see what the status on your case is, but you're still within the processing time. Okay. After I submit my medical based on an approved vow, how long does it take to have an answer for the green card? Daniela, it could take anywhere from right away to a couple of months. So hopefully you'll hear something within 6 months. If you haven't heard anything within 6 months, definitely do an inquiry to see, what the status is, okay? Okay, I filed an I-485 based on an approved VAWA. The field office is Houston. I got an update last week saying we intend to take on your case. Please follow the instructions of the notice and submit any requested material. What is it? That means you got a notice of intent to deny. So basically, when you get a notice of intent to deny, that's usually the update they'll send you. But you're not going to know what the reason why they want to deny you until you get the letter. When you get the letter, you look at the reason. And make sure that you're able to overcome whatever reason that they want to deny you. You usually have 33 days if it's mailed to you from the date on the letter. So you want to make sure that you reply on time, number one. You want to make sure you're sending the reply to the correct address, number two. Number three, you want to make sure that you're tracking that, because you don't want to mail it and then you don't know if it was delivered and they say they didn't get it and you don't have any proof to show them that it was delivered, okay? It's up to 3 months now since I got my travel permit and I have not heard back from them. What do you mean since you got your travel permit? Do you mean since you applied for your travel permit? How soon can one file for papers after marriage? There is no rule or timeline of when you can petition for your spouse after you get married. The key thing is making sure that you have a good faith bona fide marriage. When you have evidence to submit, that's when you should be filing. So if you have evidence prior to, during this period of marriage, then you should submit your application. Also understand that your application is active, meaning that even after you submit your application, if you continue to accrue or acquire evidence, you can always submit stuff. If they send you a request for evidence, or they say, this is a courtesy, if you want to submit additional evidence, you can. Or if they call you for an interview, you can also send some stuff. Okay. But you should probably file now. Guys, I know I feel like I keep saying this, and I'm probably going to get tired of saying it soon, but listen. This is an election year. We have an election happening in literally 2 months. Guys, immigration is a big political tool, by all sides of the fence. And when that typically happens during an election year, you're going to see massive changes and confusion during, as it relates to immigration. If you are eligible for something right now, do not dilly-dally, guys. I am telling you, there's nothing more painful when people come to me in a consultation and I think, wow, you qualified for this stuff a couple of months ago. Now you're no longer eligible. If you're eligible for something right now, i.e. this person that just spoke and said, I've been married 3 months, when should I file? File your application, guys. Get your stuff in there and lock your stuff in there. I mean, look at even just the PIP Biden rule right now that has a temporary restraining order, and they cannot make any decisions on those cases. That is just a rule that was just passed, in June and just made active last month, and already there's a problem with it. But that's what's going to happen. And then if the administration changes, what if they go back to the well test? Like, so, in the previous administration, when you're doing like a marriage-based petition, it's not enough just to submit like, your normal, 485, your I-130. You had to submit the I-944, which is basically, we call it a wealth test. They wanted you as the immigrant to prove that you had good credit. You had to provide your credit history. You had to provide your insurance. You had to provide proof that you knew how to speak English. You had to provide where you went to college, or if you graduated high school. You had to provide like health conditions and things like that. So these are things that made it really prohibitive for people to get their green card in the previous administration. I say this to say you never know who's going to be in office and what rules they're going to bring back. And then for those of you who have had the luxury of enjoying, not being called for an interview for a marriage-based case, this was not the case before. So these are things that could very well come back. And, again, if you have a genuine marriage, not a big deal. To go to an interview. But I do know that for a lot of people who have genuine marriages, they often fail, at interviews because either they're nervous or they weren't prepared, or they underestimated the kinds of questions they would ask. So essentially what I'm saying is, if you are eligible right now, where we have immigration that's kind of favorable to immigrants, this is a good time to file. Do not dilly-dally if you're eligible. Do not wait and say, I want to wait till my 1-year marriage. Maybe I can get a 10-year instead of a 2-year, because you don't know if you're even going to be able to do that, that because of whatever rules that may be in place. So do it now if you're eligible. Okay. Good morning, my beautiful lawyer. I received my green card through VAWA. Do I still have to go to an interview? No, girl, you've been approved. Congratulations. That's awesome. Okay. Idara says, good morning. You're doing a splendid job. My VAWA is over 2 years pending. Do I need to get a lawyer? It's always a good idea to have a lawyer representing you. Just because this is something that's very important, which is your immigration status. However, especially because you wrote on here that your lawyer has passed away. So you can have someone enter appearance in place of your previous lawyer, your late lawyer, just because depending on if you had a lawyer representing you, where is your mail being sent? Was your lawyer's address used as your safe address? You want to make sure that if there is something that they're sending or requesting from you, that it's getting to you, so that you're not like, oh, I didn't get that. How come you guys denied me? Okay. How long will it take to get an EAD through VAWA if the abuser is a green card holder? Also, how do I get a driver's license in Florida? I have a prima facie letter. So let me answer the last question first. If you have a prima facie letter, you should go to the DMV. Well, go to the DMV website for Florida, and it will tell you what else you need, like to prove that you live in Florida. And with a prima facie determination letter in Florida, you can usually get a driver's license. This does not apply to every state. They're very, it's very like specific to the state and what they require. For instance, in Georgia, you cannot use a prima facie to get a driver's license. You need an EAD, whereas you have a state like Florida or Texas where you can use that to get a driver's license. The second question is, how long will it take to get an EAD through VAWA if you're abused as a green card holder? If you're abused as a green card holder and it will depend on so many variables. So I'm just going to give you a very quick variables. First variable is, did you have a previous I-130 pending that was, either abandoned to move over to VAWA or denied? If you have an I-130 pending, you can use that priority date if it's before June 15th of 2024, and you can do your adjustment of status now, which will allow you to get a work permit within 4 to 9 months. Okay, that's one variable. Number two, if you didn't have anything pending before, and this is your first time putting in your VAWA application, you're going to have to wait for one of two things. One, either for the visa bulletin to become current or available based on your I-360 priority date. When I say priority date, I mean the date in which they received your filing and have given you that as your priority date. So to simplify it, so let's say you submitted your VAWA on August 1st, and then in November, they say the priority date is anyone who submitted their I-360, which is the VAWA application, before August 5th. You can now submit your adjustment of status. So if you fall under that, then you can submit your adjustment of status and work permit because your priority date will be active. Otherwise, with the green card holder spouse, you have to wait until they approve your VAWA case, which takes 2 to 3 years to get an EAD. So it's going to be one of the other. It's possible that the priority date may move up before the decision. Hopefully that wasn't too confusing for you, okay? Juicy says, big thanks to you and your team. You guys are doing an amazing job changing lives. Oh, no problem. You're welcome. I'm so happy for you. Cleopatra says, hope you had a wonderful Labor Day weekend. I did. I'm actually very exhausted. I just got back from Florida last night. So I'm tired, and it was a road trip. So it was a 7-hour drive to see my parents. And, we took our kids to Disney, but we were rained out. But it was okay. Okay. All right. How soon? Okay. I answered that one already. My VAWA was approved May of this year. How long for a green card? So we're June, July, August, September. Usually I want to say from when your VAWA was approved to your green card, for most people, it's going to be within 6 months, unless there's something that they need from you and they're waiting for you to give, or they need to request that thing so you can send it. So you're still within the timeline. Hopefully, you hear something very soon. I have my work permit and Social Security number from November 2022, and it's about to expire. What should I do? So first of all, your Social Security number will be your Social Security number for the rest of your life. If your work permit is about to expire in November of 2022, you need to file for a renewal of your work permit ASAP. It's always a good idea to file for a renewal within 6 months prior to expiration. So that's the earliest you can submit your work permit renewal application. If you fall under the category where you get what we call an automatic extension, what will happen is when you do submit it, the receipt will act as an extension of your EAD, even though you don't have an actual EAD card with you. This is really dependent on what kind of case you filed. Not all cases have auto extension. How long do you have to wait for VAWA approval if you've received a prima facie letter? Prima facie letter is not necessarily related to approval. Timeline for VAWA 2 to 3 years, so that's what you should be counting, not based on when you got your prima facie. March 6th to the present date, I still have not gotten my travel document or advance parole. April, May, June, July, August, to September. You have 4 to 9 months. They have 4 to 9 months to give you. So you're just in the 6-month mark. So you could very well be around then. If you are planning to travel or you have an emergency where you need to travel, you can actually schedule an emergency info pass to go get an advanced parole to travel if there's an emergency. Otherwise, I would say just be patient and wait. I'm seeing a lot of questions about how fast you can file for a marriage-based case after you got married. Hopefully you were listening to me, or if you joined after I talked about it, I'm going to save this. So just listen to it because I talked extensively about that earlier today. My husband filed for me, but he withdrew my documents, so I had to refile for VAWA. I want to apply for an I-131. Can I do that while my VAWA case is awaiting decision? If you still have your I-485 pending, you can. So if your husband withdrew your I-130, what we want to know is your I-485 pending, or do you need to file a new one? Because that will determine when you can submit the advance parole. Okay. I got married to my husband in Africa. How do I file for him to come join me? What's the process? So if your spouse lives in Africa, you're going to be doing consular processing. The process is that you first of all have to file an I-130 here in the United States. When the I-130 is approved, then it moves over to the National Visa Center. We call it the NVC. Usually they'll give you like a login, to log in there to then do the application. That part of the application is when you're going to do your financial affidavit of support, and your husband is going to have to do his own application process. If everything gets documentary qualified, then they will then put you in queue to schedule him for an interview in the country where he resides. So that's kind of the process. Consular processing can take anywhere from 15 months to 24 months, depending on the country that you live in. Okay. Can you file for VOW and then decide to file for regular marriage-based application? Burnett, the answer depends on what terms. Is this for the same spouse? You file for VOW with one spouse, the same spouse, and then now you want to withdraw, and then you want to file for marriage with the same spouse? If that is what it is, do not do it. So this is me taking off my lawyer cap and giving you my personal opinion. Do not do it. If it's a different spouse, fine. If it's the same spouse, if abuse occurred. And here's the thing. You don't, and I will tell you as someone who's been doing this, it has never ended up good for people who choose to do that because one, people don't change that quickly. Two, even though people can change, and I truly believe in the power of second chances and redemption, if you are eligible to get your green card on your own without relying on someone or without someone else having the ability to use it as a weapon against you in any conflict or any fight, do it. Okay? I got my travel permit on a marriage base, and when should I expect my green card? Will depend on when you filed. Can take anywhere from 6 to 13 months, and depending on if they schedule you for an interview. My friend has a pending VAWA. He got arrested for shoplifting. Oh my goodness! Now he's waiting for court. What are his chances? Not good. So I guess it depends. Was he guilty of it? That's definitely not helpful for his good moral character unless you can show the shoplifting is related to the abuse he's suffering. If let's say the person is homeless, I'm just using like an example, someone is shoplifting because they're homeless because of their abuser, they need to eat or to provide some sort of food or clothing for their children. Those arguments can be made. So there's a lot here at the discretion of the officer and in explaining why that happened. But definitely, the good moral character standard is 3 years prior to application. So we definitely don't want anyone filing to be getting into legal trouble while their case is pending. Okay. JJ says, how much do you charge for VAWA cases? Best for you to schedule a consultation so we can evaluate your case to determine if you're qualified, what kind of case you're qualified for, and then we'll go over the pricing, and then we can send you a PDF of how our pricing works, our process and timeline, and all of that good stuff. How long after a marriage-based green card interview will USCIS make a decision? It can vary from the same day to sometimes 6 months. After 6 months, if you've not heard anything, we definitely want to do an inquiry to see what's up, but it could vary within that timeline, depending on what they're doing. Okay. What forms do I need to file to adjust for my stepson who's 9 years old? He's on B1. Does the days visiting accrue? Yeah. So if he's here, if you're a U.S. citizen and you're married to his mother, you can file for adjustment of status. We don't go over forms or application preparation. I don't do that on Zoom because it's a liability issue for me. So if you want to hire us to do it for you, we will do it for you, or you have to do that research independently on your own. What if you lived with someone over 2 years, but they aren't on the lease and don't pay any household bills? How do you prove that you're living together? We'll need to definitely talk to you and screen you to understand why there are none of those. A lot of times in abusive relationship, we typically find that in a power dynamic, a lot of times you might not have the documents that you need because you're dealing with an abuser who has power and control. So I would need to know a little bit more of why that person doesn't have anything, what is going on, basically, to be able to address how that should be relayed to USCIS. All right, I'm going to take one more question and I got to jump off. Let's see. Jay McIntosh says, well, let's see your messages. Wow, how many times do I ask a question and you don't see it? So I'm not really sure why you're writing that, because, you're not entitled to me answering your question. I mean, for one, I didn't see your question, but for two, I don't owe you anything. I come on live here to answer questions for you guys. You haven't, just out of the benevolence of my heart. So if you want your question answered, you can schedule a consultation with us, or hire us to do the job. But again, questions are moving like this. They're moving so fast. So, I might not see your question, which I scrolled up. I don't see your question. So sorry about that. But just remember that you're not entitled to me answering your question. Okay, so the last question. I got an advanced parole 5-year card. How long will it take to get my green card? It takes anywhere from 6 months to 13 months on average for most people, if you don't have any issues. If you have issues like request for evidence, notice of intent to deny, the requested financial affidavits of support, all those things can change the timeline. But that's the timeline you should be calculating from the time you file to then. Anywho, I got to jump off. I have a meeting. If you want to schedule a call or a consultation to actually get your question answered, or to hire us, call 407-995-6567. All right, guys. Hope you have a great day. Bye.